If you grew up with music in the 70s or 80s, you probably remember the rock songs that shaped a generation. In this video, I will take you through 10 unforgettable tracks that I think changed the direction of music forever. Let's get started. Some songs don't tell a story, they are a story themselves, and Rod Stewart's Maggie May was just such a song. This tune, which came from the heart of a young man in September 1971, was not released with great expectations. Even the title of the song was quietly sitting on the album. But then something happened. The radios started playing the wrong song. The A-side said "Reason to Believe," but DJs fell in love with the B-side, Maggie May. Because this song was different. Rod's voice carried the tiredness of that first love. Maggie may not have had a face, but she had a voice. And thousands of people placed their Maggie in that voice. That summer, a generation grew up. Some experienced their first heartbreak. Some said goodbye to college. And some learned that love doesn't always end happily with this song. Maggie May was so much more than a woman. She was youth itself. And that's why, even today, when plays, the mist of that old summer appears in many people's eyes. It was the mid-80s. Rock music had surrendered to MTV and everything was sold by the image. But there was a band in Seattle that wasn't just about showcase. It was about power, faith, stealing the light. And "Steal the Light" wasn't just a song. It was an anthem that defied the rules of the time. This album, released by Q5 in 1984, made its intentions clear from the first note. The guitars were sparkling, the vocals were high, but most importantly, there was sincerity. It was as if these guys had recorded not in a studio, but inside their own lives. When "Steal the Light" plays, behind every riff is a challenge, and there's a little bit of rebellion in every word. But the tragic thing is, the album didn't explode, because Q5 didn't have a giant record label or big budgets, and the music industry didn't give much space to something so real at the time. But years passed, and this album became the holy grail of metal collectors. The new generation of guitarists always say the same thing when they hear "Steal the Light." How did we miss this? There are some songs that are not written to break down a wall, they are written to open a heart. And Foreigner's "I Want to Know What Love Is" one of those songs. As soon as Lou Gramm's voice starts, you witness a heartbreak. But this is no simple love song. This is a letter to the loneliness of a man who has spent years on the road, on tour buses, in hotel rooms, in the middle of the night. The story behind the song is almost as simple and profound. When Mick Jones woke up one morning, he had a melody in his head and only this sentence: "I want to know what love is." And a few months later, that phrase became a prayer that millions of people silently murmured. I wanna know what love is. A gospel choir was added to the recordings because this song was written not only to a woman, but to love itself. It topped the charts in 1984, but that wasn't its real success. The real success was that people of all ages still sigh when they hear this song. Towards the end of the 80s, the music world was on a threshold. Hard rock was still going strong, but eyes were now shifting in the other direction, to a darker, raw era, grunge. At that moment of transition, a band from Philadelphia quietly burst onto the scene, Tangier, and the song on their album Caution to the Wind was, for me, a lost gem. When the song starts, the guitars immediately grab you. But it's not a show, it's like a journey. When you close your eyes, you feel like you're riding away on the back of a motorcycle. City lights behind you, an unknown fall night in front of you. But Tangier's fortunes were not as bright as this song's. MTV didn't show them much. The grunge storm blew stronger, and Caution to the Wind was blown away with the wind. But still, when you listen to this song, you can find some freedom, some regret, some of your youth. There are some bands that don't make music. They create a culture, and the Allman Brothers Band did just that. Statesboro Blues was originally a blues song from the 1920s, but when they played it at the Fillmore East in 1971, it became something else. It wasn't just a cover, it had taken on a whole new dimension. As soon as Duane Allman's slide guitar starts, it's like a piece of glass, not on the strings, but in your heart. That tone still hasn't been fully replicated by anyone all these years later. That performance was so powerful that it was the pinnacle of a band's career. But the tragedy was that the peak didn't last long. Duane Allman died in a motorcycle accident months after the release of this song. He was only 24 years old, but he left behind a soul that he brought to the stage and an immortal record. Still today, when you think of slide guitar, the first thing that comes to mind is that opening of Statesboro Blues. In 1984, the music world was dazzling with the bright lights of glam metal, but Kick Axe from Canada was walking in a completely different tone under these lights. Their sound was deep, not flashy. And Heavy Metal Shuffle was not just a song, it was a hard opening of the path they had drawn for themselves. This was the opening track of their first album, Vices. Kick Axe never wanted to be trendy. They just played the way they were. And that's why Heavy Metal Shuffle still has an unpolluted energy. But here's the interesting thing. This song became a secret cult classic. Today, many collectors still count the Vices album among their rarities. Because this song may have disappeared in this band's short time, but it has not erased its trace. There are some songs that are not only in the ear but also in the soul, and I think Kansas' "Carry On Wayward Son" was just such a song. In 1976, the wave of progressive rock was rising, but American bands still couldn't compete with the giants from Europe. That's when Kansas emerged. And after their first albums, no one expected a song like this. That vocal intro at the opening of the song, the suddenly soaring choral power, followed by complex but melodic guitar parts. This was not just a rock song, it was both an interrogation and an inner journey. Guitarist Kerry Livgren was experiencing a spiritual awakening while writing this track. The struggle in the lyrics, the search for peace, was all a reflection of that search. And the beauty of it is that everyone found themselves in this song. For some, it was a memory of youth. For others, it was the background music of an ongoing inner journey. When you say, "Carry on, my wayward son," that sentence is never empty. Because each of us was once in that homeless state of mind. Kansas didn't just hit the charts with this song, they wrote the identity of an era. If you've watched this far, don't forget to write "Rock Forever" in the comment. In 1989, the music world was full of the last bright lights of glam metal. But Memphis's Tora had taken a different path through those lights. And Walking Shoes was literally the song of that journey, that stubborn independence. When I heard this song for the first time, I immediately thought of a dusty road, an old car, and regrets left in the back seat, because it was a song of going, but not to run away. It was like deciding to walk to find yourself again. The voice of vocalist Anthony Corder neither shouts nor apologizes, he just sings it as it is. The guitar is just right, no exaggeration, no understatement. Every note seems to say, "It's time to go." The Surprise Attack album that came out with Walking Shoes may not have been a big hit at the time, but is still one of the hidden treasures of many collectors today. And I think this song perfectly reflects the mood of an era. Some songs don't just talk about youth, they make you feel like you're living it all over again. And Cheap Trick's "Surrender" is one of those songs. Back in the late 70s, rock music was kind of caught in the middle, disco on one side, punk on the other. Then came this band. They didn't pick a side, they were just themselves. With Rick Nielsen's wild stage presence and those sharp, frantic guitar riffs, mixed with Robin Zander's youthful, timeless voice, Cheap Trick brought an energy you could feel whether you were in the crowd or just listening at home. And right in the center of it all was Surrender. It wasn't just a song about growing up, it was about realizing your parents might not be so square after all. It's funny, honest, and kind of brilliant that way. And the chorus, the one that flips the whole trust your parents idea on its head, that became something a whole generation could sing with a grin. What Cheap Trick did with this song proves that rock and roll doesn't need to be over the top to leave a mark. Sometimes, it's the simplest stories that stay with us the longest. Even now, when Surrender starts to play, something just clicks. You're back in that moment where everything felt possible, terrifying, and exciting all at once. You must have heard Pink Floyd's Echoes. This 23-minute track, which completely covers the B-side of the 1970 one-album Metal, is not just a song, it is an experience. At that time, they were still searching for their post-Syd Barrett identity, and what they found with Echoes was not just a musical direction, but themselves. The song opens with a sonar sound coming from the depths of the ocean. It's like a call from the subconscious. Then, with Richard Wright's slowly rising keyboard, that call turns into a wave, and David Gilmour's guitar speaks like a spirit floating over that wave. The lyrics? You can't say exactly what they mean, but you feel it. What sets Echoes apart is not that the story is unclear, but that each listener brings their own story to it. For me, this song is one of the most creative peaks of 70s rock. And with this song, Pink Floyd proved that a band can not only make music, but also make you feel. Even today, when you listen to Echoes, it's not a song, it's a stream of consciousness. And no matter how much you listen, there is always a silence when it ends. But that silence is like a part of the song. Today, we remembered the unforgettable songs of rock history together. We talked about an emotion like Maggie May, a universe like Echoes, gems like Steal the Light. Each of them shaped a different aspect of music. Maybe some of them reminded you of your youth. Maybe some of them caught your ear for the first time. And of course, there are many more to add to this list. So what was the most memorable song on this list for you? Write in the comments so we can discuss it together. And if you like rock videos, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because we have many more stories to tell. See you in the next video. Rock again, family.